Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I will be showing you how to make this super easy heart-shaped crochet bag. This tutorial is made for beginners. Even though the pattern itself looks a bit difficult, I'm going to break down each and every step and show you exactly how to make this bag, even if you've never crocheted before. If this helps you, please leave me a like and subscribe. Let's get right into the video. For today's video, you will need 3 different colors of weight 4 yarn, one of a weight 3 yarn or smaller, a 5.25mm hook or a 5, some scissors, a stitch marker, and a darning needle. Moving on, I also have the free written patterns up on my Instagram right now if it helps you to follow along with those. To begin with the very basics here, we are going to start by making a slip knot. What you're going to do with just one strand of yarn, I'm using 2 here to make it thicker, you're going to wrap it around your fingers to make this hourglass shape, and then pull the small end, we call that a tail, through itself like so. From here, you're going to want to put your hook through the knot itself, pulling on the smaller end to tighten it. Do not pull it extremely hard, just hard enough so that way it is wrapped around the actual hook itself. From here, we want to adjust our grip on the hook. I'm going to show you how to do so with your thumb going against the top like so, and the rest of your hand gripping it. You can then choose to weave the yarn around your finger. From here, we're going to chain 4 times, and you simply just wrap the yarn around your hook and then pull it through itself like this. Similar to how we made the slip knot, now we're just using the hook. Once you have made 4 total, we're going to make something called a slip stitch. And if you can see here, each of these are their own little braided shapes. We want to find the very first one, which is right at the bottom near the knot, and that's where we're going to insert this first slip stitch. So insert your hook like so, then yarn over, same way we would make a chain earlier, and this time pull it through both of those 2 stitches. So through the first, then through the second. Now you have made a chain ring. Good job! Next, we are going to be inserting half double crochets into that hole in the ring itself. This is how we start to build the piece. So assuming you've never made a half double crochet before, you're going to start by yarning over your hook, then inserting it directly into the hole itself. From here, we're going to yarn over once more, and now pull it through just the hole, leaving 3 loops on your hook. It should look like this. Once you have 3 of those on the hook, you are going to yarn over once more, and this time you are going to pull it through all 3 of the loops that you already have. And remember, yours will not look as thick as mine. I'm just using a chunkier yarn here. Yours will be nice and thin. From there, you just want to make sure that that other little tail is out of your way, and you are going to repeat this to make 8 total half double crochet stitches. It might be a bit hard to count, so I'll show you how to double check when you're done. Just make sure that you're counting very carefully as you go through this part of the piece. Once you're done, you want to count along those little braided bits to make sure you have 8, and then you're going to insert your hook through this top braid here, which is how we're going to make a slip stitch once again to finish off the row. You always want to end your row by going into the first stitch you made in that same row, if that makes sense. So we're going to insert it straight through like I showed you before, making sure we're going through the side and you can still see the braid on top. Then once again, we will yarn over and then pull it through both the stitch you're already in and the stitch that was on your hook. From there, once you're done, your piece will be a full circle, and you're going to chain 1 time to mark the end of this row. Step 7 starts the beginning of row 2. And what we're going to be doing is adding 2 half double crochets into every single stitch. So if we had 8 stitches in that last row, we're going to be doing increases. Like I said, it is 2 half double crochets in one, so we'll end up with 16 total stitches at the end of this row. So to make sure that you're going to each and every one of them, count very slowly until you have 16. At the end of the row, you are going to find the very first half double crochet you made and insert a slip stitch straight through it. Again, you are going to pull through once and then pull through twice, so that way it goes through both loops on the hook. And once you've pulled through, don't worry if you drop it, you can always grab it and pick it back up. You will chain 2 times to get ready for the next row. For step 9, you are going to make 4 double crochet and then slip stitch into that same stitch. So to do a double crochet, you start it the same way as a half double. This time, instead of pulling through all 3, you pull through 2 loops and then pull through 2 more. I'm going to show you that one more time. Yarn over, push it through, and then pull through again. Once you have 3 loops on the hook, pull through 2 and pull through 2 more. Again, you're going to make 4 total here, and then you're going to make your slip stitch into the 4th double crochet stitch. So you're going right back in the same way we did those increases before, this time just making a slip stitch. And then for your next step, you are going to make another slip stitch into the next open one, pull through, and then you are going to make 4 double crochets. So instead of chaining, we are just going to pull up very lightly like this to make a little bit of extra room, and then into that same stitch, you're going to make your first double crochet. And then again, you guys know the drill by now, pull through 2 and pull through 2 more, and then you will make 4 total of these before we get to the next step. Your piece should look like this with the very noticeable points of the heart done. From there, you are going to continue by making 4 half double crochets, and then we're going to start making some regular doubles as well. So just start simply with the plain 4 like you were doing earlier, and then into the 4th half double crochet you make, you want to add 1 single double crochet. So this is like a weird increase where you're doing 2 separate kinds of stitches, but this is just to make it bigger for the bottom point of the star. Once you're done, you are going to start in the next stitch by making another double crochet, and then again into the same one, making a half double. You're basically just repeating what we just did in reverse, so with the 1 double crochet, followed by 4 half double crochets. Once you finish that, you are once again going to find that first stitch that you made, and then you're going to insert another slip stitch. At this point you should be a pro, but remember once you're through, pull it through both loops on the hook, and this time you're just going to chain only once. And we can do a quick shape check here. You should have something that looks like a heart, like so. It might be a little wide. Moving on to step 14, we are going to follow this pattern of doing 1 half double crochet, then by doing 1 half double crochet increase. So again, we're going to do 1 normal, and then we'll put 2 half double crochets to make our next increase. You're going to do this 2 times in a row. So once you're through once, you're going to do it again, so that way you have your 1 and then your increase. Now you repeat that whole section, just so that way you understand my wording as we go through. So that is a 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet increase, 2 times back to back. Make sure that through this whole process, you count very slowly. And then once you're done with that, you are going to just be doing 2 consecutive slip stitches, not into the same stitch like the last row. So just into the next stitch, do 1 slip stitch, and again into the stitch after that. And then for step 16, we're going to repeat the same pattern of doing 1 half double crochet and 1 half double crochet increase 2 times in a row. For step 17, you're doing that same pattern once again with a regular half double crochet, then a half double crochet increase, and you're going to be repeating that again 2 times. Once you've repeated that both times, you'll be at that spot where you had your double crochets in the last row. From there, you're just going to double crochet 2 more times, again not into the same stitch, we're just building out height basically. And then you're going to repeat that same pattern that we were doing a moment ago, again to repeat for the last time, 1 half double crochet, followed by a half double crochet increase, and you'll do that twice until you reach the end of this part of the row. For step 19, we are going to be making a color switch rather than a simple slip stitch. It starts the exact same way with inserting your hook into that first half double crochet that you made before, but this time we are going to pull up our second color yarn, let this be the color you have 300 grams of, and you're going to use that to pull through rather than the yarn you were using in the previous rows. So it might be a bit of a tight fit, but pull very gently, and then turn the piece around to pull on the yarn tails, so that way you make sure that everything is secured. Once you've moved through that, you're going to chain 1 time, and then begin to repeat the pattern that we were using earlier. The only difference now is we'll be adding an extra half double crochet. So for example, where you did 1 half double crochet followed by an increase in the last row, this time we are going to be doing 1 half double crochet, then 1 again, then continue to repeat it. So it's going to be that sort of 2 half double crochets followed by 1 increase all the way around. So it's going to be that 1 half double crochet followed by another or 2 half double crochets, then an increase, and you're going to be doing that 2 times total till we get to that middle point of the heart. This is where it starts to get very important that you're counting your stitches, so if that's not something that you've done, I recommend keeping a notepad and just keeping tally of where you're at. Once you finish that, for step 21, we're going to be doing the same as before, where we did those 2 slip stitches before repeating that pattern again 2 times in a row. So showing you one more time, you want to start pulling up and not chaining here, and then just inserting your hook and beginning to make your half double crochets once again. For step 22 is basically how we're going to set the foundation for the rest of the panels of this piece. You're going to be repeating the pattern 2 times in a row with that 2 half double crochets followed by the half double crochet increase, and then when we get back to those 2 double crochets that we made in the last row, we're going to do that as well. So just do your 1 double crochet in the 1 stitch and then another double crochet in the stitch following. After you finish doing the 2 of those, you're once again going to go back to the pattern that we made and repeat it twice more total. For step 23, we are going to close the row by finding that first half double crochet we made, slip stitching it shut, and chaining 1. And I apologize if it's a bit hard to see this darker color yarn. Just up your brightness if it's a little hard, and just know that the steps are exactly how I'm speaking them out loud. For step 24, we're just going to build up that pattern that we've been using. So this time you will have 3 consecutive half double crochets. You will do that 2 times, and then you will do your 2 slip stitches. So I know I'm speaking way faster than the video is going, but we're going to start skipping through these a bit so the video isn't 3 hours long. So to reiterate one more time, you will do 3 consecutive half double crochets, meaning doing it once, once, once. Then you'll do your increase, which is doing them twice. Then you will do 2 slip stitches, followed by the pattern 2 more times. Once you have finished the top section of the heart, we will move into that bottom half, where we're going to be repeating that pattern 2 more times again. So it's those 3 consecutive half double crochets, followed by your increase. The only difference is that when you get to the spots where we've been putting our double crochets, we're now going to be putting in some triple crochets. So to take you through this nice and slow, you're going to yarn over 2 times as opposed to the once, push through and yarn over, and now you'll have 4 remaining loops on the hook. You're going to want to pull through 2, then you're going to pull through 2 again, and you will pull through 2 one more time. Simply, you're just adding a second layer to what you would do for a regular double crochet. So again, just so you can see it all, yarn over twice, yarn over, pull through, and then you have 4 loops on the hook. You'll pull it through groups of 2 until you reach the end, which will be 3 times, hence the name triple crochet. From there, you just want to continue to repeat your pattern 2 more times with the 3 half double crochets and then your increase. And then once you are at the end of the row, we will do another slip stitch followed by another chain 1. And just so you guys know, if you ever drop the stitch, which I do 1 million times like that, just go back and fix it. For step 27, we are going to be continuing with the pattern as we've been using it. This time around, we are going to do 4 consecutive half double crochets before our increase. So focusing just on the top half of the heart, you want to do your pattern 2 times, so 4 consecutive half double crochets, 1 increase, and repeating that twice. When you're done, you will do both of your slip stitches, followed by repeating that pattern 2 times over once more. Once you finish the top, you will move to the bottom, where you will do your pattern 2 times, followed by your 2 triple crochets, and then followed once again by 2 times of the pattern. As per usual, be very careful and count these parts very thoroughly. To end this row, we are going to be doing another color switch, this time back to the first color that we used. So insert your hook, pull back up on that original color, and then you're just going to want to make sure you chain 1 time before pulling tightly on all of your yarn. Make sure everything is adjusted, so it fits perfectly, then you'll do your last chain. For step 30, once again, we're just going to continue repeating the rows, adding more crochets. So this time you're going to be doing 5 consecutive half double crochets, followed by your increase. The whole entire row we're going to skip through because you've seen it a million times now, so just make sure that every time we do the pattern, like I've said in previous rows, you're doing 5 half double crochets in a row, then continuing on. So it would be repeated 2 times, doing your slip stitch, repeated twice again, then for the bottom half you'll do it twice, do your triple crochets, and do it twice. Once you are done doing all of those things, you will be done with this row. And again, if you need anything from me or if you need me to explain further, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. From there to end, you will just do your slip stitch into the first half double crochet, and then you will chain 1 time. For step 32, you are going to do the exact same thing you did in the last row, just changing it up slightly by doing 6 consecutive half double crochets. Everything else stays exactly the same. For step 33, we'll be making the last row here, so you want to color switch back to that second color. Basically, we're making a little outline, and we are going to begin the same way we've been doing it before by repeating the same pattern. But for starters, you want to finish off that pink yarn or whatever color you use and cut it so that way it's out of your way. Now, you're going to be repeating the pattern like I said, doing 7 consecutive half double crochets. You want to stop when you get to the point where you begin your triple crochets, but for the rest of this part, just do the same pattern as normal. When you reach your triple crochet stitches, you are going to want to place a regular sort of increase, the same thing we did earlier. So we'll be doing 2 half double crochets into the first, and then chaining once before doing 2 more half double crochets. So it should look like this with a little point on the end when you're done. Basically what we did was we fastened an actual middle point. When you're done with that, you'll just continue the pattern normally until you reach the end of the row. This will be 7 half double crochets in a row. And as per usual, once you reach the end, you will slip stitch it shut and chain 1. The difference here is that we're going to want to cut our yarn when we're done, and then pull the yarn straight through, pulling it a little bit tight, and then you'll be done with your first panel. From there, you do want to make a second one and have 2 ready to go for the next part of this project. Next up, we'll be working on adding the frills to this piece. So what you want to do is take your other color yarn, the one that you should have 250 grams of, and start by making a regular slip knot. If you need me to show you again, just go through this part slowly so you can make sure you made it correctly. When you're done, you're just going to take your hook and insert it through the knot, same way we did at the start of the project. From here, you want to find that first stitch you made in that last row of the pink or whatever color you use, half double crochets. Basically the end of that first heart. What you're going to do is insert your hook behind that stitch, fully behind it so it's going underneath the thing. Then you're going to pull through with this yarn to make a slip stitch. So please pay close attention to the video because it's a bit hard to explain with words, it's easier to just show you. Once you've pulled all the way through, you are going to chain 2 times and adjust your yarn so that way it's nice and tight. And then we are going to begin the steps to actually making the frills. So to make a frill, you're going to insert 3 total double crochets behind each one of these stitches. So you're basically just going in and out from behind the same way you did your slip stitch a second ago, this time making sure that you have 3 total double crochets. The reason we do 3 is because this bunches the yarn up onto itself and creates that frilly look. It's something that looks pretty hard to do if you don't already know how, but you absolutely know how to make double crochets. So just take your time. What you're going to do is continue to repeat this now until you reach the top middle point of the heart. So where the 2 little curves at the top of the heart meet. So basically you're going up and around the top curve and then meeting at the point to stop, which is where we're going to do a slightly different step. When you're looking at it on the piece, it'll be about right here. Basically what you're going to do when you reach this middle portion is make a small slip stitch right into the middle. So you want to skip the actual stitches around the middle of the piece, which I'm kind of pointing out to you here. So where you would have normally gone under and behind that stitch, you want to instead look for the middle of it, go underneath of this pink part and up just below the brown or whatever colors you used on yours. This is where you're going to insert your slip stitch. And you want to make sure that that is nice and tight so that way the piece actually forms a point rather than like forming a circle, if that makes sense. You then want to skip the piece I pointed out and continue doing your double crochets behind these stitches in the rows. So again, make sure that you have 3 total in every single one and stop at the opposite side of the top of the heart. Once you reach the other or opposite side of the top of the heart, we're going to make the bottom part by going into the stitches rather than behind them. And this doesn't make too huge of a difference other than how it's going to open up the top part to make those curves, and they're going to meet a lot sharper on the bottom to make the point. So we're doing this exactly the same with 3 double crochets into each one, You just want to stop when you reach the middle of the bottom point, so I can show you where to put your slip stitches here, so that way our point is nice and sharp. Once you get here, you're again going to skip that stitch you'd be inserting into, this time going in and underneath of the stitch by the brown, or whatever color you use, and pulling it up into a slip knot. And again, just pick up your stitches when you drop them. Once you're done, you want to do a chain 1, and you're going to add one more slip stitch directly above it. This is going to really make that point protrude out so it looks like the bottom of a heart. This is how we're going to really get our shape to the bag, where it might just look round and circular now. Once you're done for step 10, you're just going to continue to do your double crochets into, not behind, into the stitches until you reach the beginning and the first double crochet that you made. Again, if this is a bit tricky, please feel free to reach out to me on any platform, leave me a comment on here, or send me a video on Instagram, and I'll try and explain it a little bit better and more in depth for you. For step 11 here, we are going to point out that first double crochet we made and do a slip stitch in chain 1, the same way we've been doing it throughout the whole project. The difference here is that you are instantly going to cut after you do your chain 1, and you're going to pull through as well. So that's going to make it so we have that nice tight knot here. Then you can weave in your ends however you see fit. You can tie them if that makes it easier and cut them, and I apologize for the small blurry parts of the video. For step 12, you're going to repeat that same process that we just did to the outer layer of your little bag. So if mine was pink, whatever color your second row is there, you just want to fill it up all the way in a big old circle, so that way you have another giant ring of frills. This is how we build the shape of the heart itself. Once you're done, I want to do a quick check-in to make sure that both of your panels look like mine. If they don't, send me a comment, send me a message just like I said before, and we'll figure it out together to get you on the right track. Moving on to the final stretch, we're going to start with the strap. Taking the color that you had 300 grams to start with, you're going to want to start by making a slip knot once more. Once you have made it, and you should be a professional at this point, we are going to begin chaining the actual length of the strap. This needs to account for the amount of chains around your bag, which should be around 80, followed by the actual length we need for the strap itself. So what I recommend to you is to do either 180 to have the exact same length as mine, or if you want it a bit bigger or a bit smaller, do not differentiate by more than 15 chains. When you're done, chain one more and turn your work. What you're going to be doing now is half double crocheting all the way down your row. So basically what we're doing is making one really long scarf, if you want to call it that. So it's one super gigantic strap looking scarf thing, which you've probably made if you're just learning how to crochet. So simply insert your half double crochets into the stitches, skipping that chain one that you added. Once you're done, you're going to want to go into each and every chain just one singular time, adding your half double crochets all the way down the row. And it will take a little bit of time, but it'll be nice and worth it to have this nice durable strap. For step 3, you are going to chain once again, so that way you can turn your work, and you're going to begin to half double crochet all the way across once more. So the important thing to do here is make sure again that you're going into the sides and not up through the top of your stitches. Once you know for sure where you're going in, you just want to go all the way down the row, and in total you want to have 3 rows or 4. Once you have finished, you're going to line up your panels with the insides facing one another. You can lay them off to the side for now, but it's important to have them done. The next thing to do is decide on if you want your connecting piece to blend in or to stick out like mock stitches. So if you don't want them to blend in and you want to have a cute stitching effect, I recommend doing a color switch. If you want to keep it the exact same, don't worry about the color switch, just chain one time. When you're done, if you're doing the color switch, just cut your yarn. For step 6 here, we are going to insert our hook, and then we are going to mark equal pieces on the hearts themselves, so that way we can be sure we're not skipping any stitches as we go through the next parts. So the first thing that you want to do here is making sure that the inside out part is always facing the outside. You want to find that piece where I'm pointing to, where we started doing our little frills. This is a good spot where we want the handle to sit for the opening of the bag. insert your hook into that stitch, and then you want to pull through. I know I went a little fast there, so I'm going to redo it for you. Insert your hook through both, like so, with 2 loops on the hook, then pull through to make a quick slip stitch. What you're going to do there is just chain 1 time, and this is where we're going to use our stitch markers, or you can use a bobby pin or anything you have laying around. So make sure that the outside of your bag is facing the inside here. We want to be going around this angle. I'm going to be using stitch markers, and what you do with these is you kind of use it like a safety pin, where you're just inserting the bottom through like this. I'm connecting the equal piece to where the point should be connected to the strap, which for me I believe was 27 pieces, just so that way it makes it easier to connect them as I go. This is going to make it so I don't accidentally skip over any of the stitches as I go throughout my piece. It's very important that everything is even on both panels, or else the bag is going to become super crooked and like weirdly diagonal, if that makes sense. For step 7 here, we are actually going to be making the half double crochets that we just marked out. So begin by inserting your hook into the first stitch on the strap, and then find the point on your bag where they're going to meet. Through there, just make a half double crochet the way you would always make them. You're going to continue doing this now all the way down and around your bag, making sure that you are just doing 1 half double crochet into every single stitch. That's why you put the stitch markers there. Please watch me very carefully as I do this to make sure you don't mess this part up. It is very, very important to the bag that this part is very streamlined, or else it will come out looking that diagonal look that I spoke of before. The point of doing it this way is to make sure your bag is very, very sturdy. When you come across any stitch markers, it should be totally even with one another. I want to show you this bottom point specifically so you know how to handle that chain in the middle. Basically what you're doing is inserting your hook through one, then inserting it through this back part of the chain. You're going to go very slowly, coming through both times, and then into your next stitch, repeating the same exact thing. From there, you're just going to continue all the way down to the opposite side of the strap, repeating the same steps that you just did with your half double crochets. Once you make it to that last stitch marker here, you're going to pop it out and place in your final half double crochet of the row. And then if you're like me and you always want something a bit more secure, I would recommend adding 1 extra. From there, we are going to go to the other side and we're going to mark off where we want our new half double crochets to go. So first and foremost, we want to mark the other side of the strap here before we cut our yarn. This will ensure that everything is even when we make the other part of the bag. So you want to start by going across and just putting your stitch marker in so it is adjacent with the last one you just made. Once that's all set up, you are going to make your final half double crochet, inserting it into the first part of the bag first. So if you look here, you want to make sure you're going into this stitch like so, and then into the stitch after the one you made in the last row. That'll keep things very secure. From there, you will just chain 1, cut your yarn, and then pull the yarn through, and we can worry about weaving all the ends in later. Now, like I said, we're going to mark everything with stitch markers again, so that way the opposite panel can go on smoothly. So just grab as many stitch markers as you need for this part. I like to connect the strap itself, make sure that it's totally flat first, and then go to the bottom of the bag so you can attach that point piece to the point of the other one. Again, make sure you are recognizing that those are those little chains in the middle. So you want to find exactly that stitch, go straight across, and take your time, make sure this is very accurate. You can pull things apart if you need, like I did here, and then insert in your stitch marker. You are then just going to make sure that everything is totally ready to go. So I use 3 total, but you can use as many or as few as you need. So for step 9 here, we are going to make a new slip knot so we can basically make up for the yarn we cut and insert it the same exact way we did the last time. The only difference is that this time it's not directly connected to the piece. So put it around your hook and tighten it just a bit and insert it into that first piece here. So I'm just going directly under the stitch marker so I don't lose my place, and then I'm going to remove it and throw it to the side. From there, I'm going to just repeat the process around, starting with a slip stitch to make sure everything is in place, and then I'm just going to chain 1 time afterwards. So gently, very gently pull everything through, and make sure that no pieces of yarn are stuck in the way like they are here. Pull on it a bit, and then you'll do your chain 1. You can then just start going through each and every one of these pieces here until you've made it all the way around to the other side of the bag. Make sure that you account for that chain in the middle like we did in the last row, and don't lose your spot, count very carefully, and make sure that nothing overlaps. For step 10, we're going to add that finishing stitch the same way we did in the last row, where we basically treated it like an increase in the one side and pulling it through on the other. And this time we're going to chain one so we can actually attach the strap to itself. So remove your last stitch marker, or whatever it was that you were using, and then if you're like me and you switched the color yarn that you use, you're going to want to revert back to the color of the strap. You can ignore this step if you didn't switch colors and just continue on from after what we're doing here. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that we do this little color switch. So like I said, if you're just skipping through, you're just going to continue like I'm showing you here. However, if you did what I did, take your hook out entirely and just switch your colors. So we're going to do the color switch the same way as before. Remove the chain if you made it, you only need that if you're continuing on, and cut your yarn here. Take that secondary color once more for your color switch and tighten all the yarn up. Once everything is good to go, everyone is going to continue from here where we're just inserting and doing our half double crochets into the corner of the strap. You will do this the length across and into the other side as well. It is very important that you do only one into each of these little divots. If you do too many, you'll have a really weird bump here and it can throw off the look of your bag. But for the most part, you just want to go across. It'll probably come out to be about 5 or maybe 6 total. And then you want to throw an extra 1 or 2 into the corner to really fasten the bag. So if you see here, I'm doing this little slip stitch right into this corner piece. It's a bit tricky to get all the way through, but I want to make sure that everything is nice and tight so when I'm actually loading up the bag, the strap doesn't rip on me. Once it's all through, I'm going to chain one time, cut my yarn, and then I'm going to pull it straight through to finish it all up. I then want to weave in all my ends. You can do that however you please. I'm a big fan of just using the hook and pulling it through itself and just trimming areas that need to be trimmed. I know a lot of people like to use your darn needle, so go ahead and use that if it's a bit more comfortable for you. Once you're done, you're going to flip your bag entirely inside out. And then you can just add on whatever accessories that you've made. For my new members, those will be up on my channel now. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. If it helped you, please leave me a like and subscribe for more videos every Sunday at 1 p.m. I also have an Instagram where I post free patterns and some more content, and a Depop where I sell all my stuff. Thank you again so much, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye!